The car was parked in the middle of the road. The doors were locked. One window was cracked open. Inside, candy wrappers from a convenience store still sat on the seats. A basketball program lay on the dashboard. Someone had been carefully tracking the score. There was a quarter tank of gas. When investigators hotwired it, the engine started immediately. The car had not broken down. It had not been damaged. It had not run out of fuel. It had simply been left there, deep in the mountains, miles from any town, on a road no one had any reason to be on, in the middle of the night, in February, in the snow. 5 men had been inside that car. By the time it was found, they were gone. What followed would become one of the most disturbing and unresolved mysteries in American criminal history. A case where every answer only leads to a darker question. On the evening of February 24, 1978, 5 men from the Yuba City area attended a college basketball game at Chico State University in Northern California. They were teammates on a recreational league squad called the Gateway Gators, and they had made this kind of trip before: a game, some snacks, the drive home. A normal night out. They would never arrive home. Jack "Doc" Madruga was 30 years old, an Army veteran. He was, by all accounts, a man of deep routine and quiet pride. He had saved his own money to buy a 2-tone white and light blue 1969 Mercury Montego, and that car was his world. He would not allow anyone else behind the wheel. He banned beer inside it. He avoided rutted roads because he was afraid of damaging the undercarriage. Relatives and a doctor later suggested that Jack would today likely be placed on the autism spectrum, but he was never formally diagnosed. What was certain was this: Jack Madruga did not take risks with his car. And Jack Madruga did not go places without a reason. Bill Sterling, 29, was quiet and steady. At around 5 feet 10 and 160 pounds, he had worked alongside Jack in the dishroom at Sunsweet Growers, long hours, reliable labor, until new equipment came in and both men were laid off. Bill was close to his family and depended on routine, but he was capable of navigating his town independently and managing simple tasks when supervised. He had known Theodore "Ted" Wire for years, a friendship that ran long and deep. Ted Wire, 32, was the oldest of the 5. Physically strong and athletic despite being described by his family as intellectually slow, Ted had gone back to complete high school through night classes and held supervised jobs, including work on a Pacific Gas and Electric contract through Gateway projects. He was fiercely protective of those he cared about, especially the youngest in the group. Jackie Hewitt, 24, was by most accounts the most cognitively limited of the 5. He had a mild speech impediment and faced real challenges with everyday communication, but he was hands-on, independent in practical matters, and devoted to Ted, whom he followed closely. His mother later told investigators he would never have spent extended time on a telephone. He simply could not manage a phone conversation. He was not a man who would wander off alone. Then there was Gary Matthias, 25, the newest member of the group and the most complex. A former high school linebacker. A rock band frontman. An Army veteran. Unlike the others, Gary had no intellectual disability. After his honorable discharge, he had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, but by all accounts he had responded well to treatment. His stepfather made sure he took his medication every day. His doctor described him as a treatment success. At 5 feet 10 and 170 pounds, Gary was the most physically capable and independent of the 5. He was also the one whose history would eventually cast the longest shadow over everything that happened. These 5 men, bound by basketball and genuine friendship, were last seen in public at a convenience store called Bears Market, roughly 8 minutes from the Chico State Gymnasium. The night clerk, Mary Davis, later told investigators that the men arrived just as she was trying to close. She noted they seemed different somehow, but she was emphatic about one thing: they were laughing, joking among themselves, and clearly enjoying the moment. All 5 left together. No one followed them. No one joined them. They got into Jack's Montego and drove away into the night. The disappearance. When none of the 5 returned home by the following morning, their families knew something was wrong. Missing person reports were filed. An ATL, an attempt to locate bulletin, was issued for the Montego. 2 days passed. Then a U.S. Forest Service worker named Willard Burroughs, who had been marking timber in the Plumas National Forest, reported a vehicle he had spotted days earlier. It was Jack Madruga's 1969 Mercury Montego, parked in the middle of an unpaved road near Rogers Cow Camp, a remote stretch at approximately 4,200 feet above sea level. When officers arrived, the scene raised immediate questions. The candy wrappers from Bears Market were still on the seats. The basketball program was on the dashboard, scoring statistics filled in. One window, accounts differ on which, was cracked open. The doors were locked. The keys were not inside. The car showed no mechanical failure. It had a quarter tank of gas. When hot-wired, it started without hesitation. Investigators noted only about 5 to 10 inches of snow on the ground and skid marks suggesting spinning tires, but nothing that would have prevented 5 adult men from simply pushing the vehicle free. What struck investigators most was the condition of the undercarriage. A Washington Post reporter later described it as a heavy American car with a low-hanging muffler that had somehow traveled a tortuously bumpy mountain road, apparently in total darkness, without a gouge or dent or thick mud stain to show for it. The pristine underside suggested whoever drove that car up the mountain road knew it well, or was extraordinarily careful in the dark, in the snow at night. Inside the glove box, maps of Sacramento, Stockton, and San Francisco. On the front seat, a California road map with several hand-marked X locations whose significance was never explained. Investigators also found what appeared to be bloodstains on the driver's side sun visor. Lab analysis later indicated the substance likely came from a fast food restaurant. Shortly after the search began, a blizzard swept through the mountains and erased any tracks the men may have left. The search was suspended until spring. Then 2 days after the car was found, a man named Joseph Sean came forward. Sean claimed he had been on that same road the night of February 24th, checking the snow line for a ski trip. His Volkswagen Beetle became stuck. Around 11 p.m., he said he heard a whistling sound and saw distant headlights. He described seeing shadowy figures, anywhere from 2 to 12, he said, depending on which account he was giving. He thought one might have been a woman holding a baby. When he shouted for help, the lights went out. At around 4 a.m., he walked toward the lights again and found the abandoned Montego. He then walked 8 to 9 miles to a bar called Mountain House, arriving around 9 a.m. When he got there, he asked for water, 2 aspirin, and a ride home. He said nothing to anyone about 5 missing men or an abandoned car. When investigators interviewed him, Sean's story changed. Then changed again. He told his wife a version involving a rust-colored pickup truck. He told detectives he had been half-conscious, not lucid, hallucinating. One witness reported he arrived at Mountain House saying only, "I should have done this 2 years ago." A neighbor described him as one of the biggest con artists in the world. Detective Avery Blankenship was blunt. "I don't think his story has any credibility whatsoever. This guy is bogus all the way around." Yet Sean had undeniably been on that road. And he had undeniably suffered a medically confirmed heart attack at some point that night. His exact role, witness, bystander, or something else entirely, was never established. The unexplained detail. On June 4, 1978, nearly 100 days after the 5 men vanished, a father and son riding motorcycles through the Plumas National Forest came upon an abandoned Forest Service trailer camp, approximately 12 miles from where the Montego had been found. Roger Coe noticed a broken window on one of the trailers and followed a powerful odor to its source. He looked inside. There was a body on the bottom bunk. It was Ted Wire. When Ted had disappeared, he was clean-shaven and weighed approximately 200 pounds. The man on the bunk appeared to weigh closer to 100. He had a full unkempt beard. His pants were rolled to his knees. His feet were badly frostbitten with missing toes. His legs showed signs of sepsis and gangrene. His hands were resting peacefully on his chest. 8 separate bedsheets had been pulled up to his chin. Here is what investigators could not explain. Because of the severe infection in his feet and legs, any movement would have caused unbearable pain. Ted Wire could not have pulled those sheets over himself. Someone else had been there. Someone had covered him. Inside the trailer, the picture became stranger. 36 meals worth of military-style C-ration cans had been consumed, opened painstakingly with a church key, a flat bottle opener requiring repeated puncturing around each lid. Only one can had been opened with a P-38 military can opener, the small folding tool carried by soldiers that any Army veteran would immediately recognize. Both Jack Madruga and Gary Matias had served in the Army. But here is what investigators found alongside those empty cans. An unlocked cabinet containing enough dehydrated meals to last weeks. Untouched. A full propane tank, enough to heat the trailer comfortably through a deep winter. never switched on. 2 coal oil stoves, never used. Matchbooks, completely unused. Paperback books that could have been burned for warmth. Wooden furniture, combustible, never touched. The only source of heat and light in that trailer was a single candle, partially melted, sitting on the table next to where Ted Wire lay dying. Gary Matias's tennis shoes, the same ones he had been wearing the night of February 24th, were found inside the trailer. His feet had likely become too swollen and frostbitten to wear them. Ted's leather shoes were missing from his body, suggesting Gary had taken them and walked out of that trailer wearing a dying man's shoes. On a memo pad near the bed, Gary's sister Tammy later found handwritten notes in her brother's unmistakable handwriting. They were religious passages and affirmations about endurance. Nothing about what had happened. Nothing about why they were there. Nothing about where he was going. Gary Matias was never found. Not his body, not his glasses, which his parents specifically searched for, knowing animals would not consume them. Nothing. Gary's stepfather, Bob Klopp, was confused by what happened. He could not understand why Gary and the others did not start a fire, especially when there were materials available to burn. He believed the only explanation was that they were scared of something or someone. Expert and witness voices. 2 days after Ted's body was discovered, the decomposed remains of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling were found approximately 3 miles down the road from the trailer. When investigators searched what remained of Jack's clothing, they found something that stopped them cold. The keys to his 1969 Mercury Montego were still in his pocket. Jack had been driving that night. He had not been taken from the car by force and stripped of his keys. He had the keys when he died, 3 miles short of a trailer where his friends had tried to survive for months. Jackie Hewitt's body was found the following day about 2.5 miles from the trailer by his own father, who spotted his son's jacket on the hillside while searching the area on foot. Of the 5, only Gary was never recovered. An autopsy performed by the medical examiner determined that Ted Wire had died of pulmonary congestion caused by prolonged exposure to extreme cold, not starvation, not hypothermia as widely reported, not foul play. The examiner could not determine a cause of death for Jack or Bill due to advanced decomposition and scavenger damage. No evidence of foul play was identified on any of the recovered bodies. Sheriff Jack Beecham told reporters that investigators believed something may have happened to the group between Chico and the mountains. As more time passed, authorities became increasingly suspicious that the disappearance might have involved foul play. Investigators found the men's route especially puzzling. People who become lost usually head downhill or wander in circles, but the 5 men traveled almost perfectly straight uphill for about 12 miles. They crossed deep snow, estimated to be 4 to 8 feet in places, before reaching a remote trailer that they likely had no knowledge of beforehand. Jack Madruga's father believed the men did not die by accident. He thought they were forced or pressured to leave their car and walk into the mountains. According to him, Jack would never have abandoned his vehicle on a mountain road unless someone made him do it. And months after the bodies were found, Jack's sister Kathy was working at her family's bar when she saw a man she was absolutely certain was Gary Matias. She called his name. She ran to get her mother. When they returned, the man was gone. Deputies conducted a photo lineup. Kathy pointed to Gary's photograph without hesitation. She still insists it was him. 5 men in good spirits. A warm car with gas in the tank. A road they had no reason to be on. A trailer 12 miles into the mountains that no one searched for weeks, despite being told it was there. A dying man covered with 8 sheets by hands that were not his own. A fire that was never lit. A person who walked out into the snow and was never seen again. Jack Madruga's keys were in his pocket. Gary Matias's shoes were in the trailer. 36 empty cans. 1 candle. Could 5 men, careful, routine-driven, one of them a trained Army veteran, really have made a series of deliberate decisions that led them 12 miles uphill into a freezing wilderness in the dark, with a full tank of gas and a working car left behind them? Or did something happen on that mountain road that night, something witnessed, something feared, something never fully admitted, that no official investigation has ever been willing to name out loud? The case remains open. Gary Matias has never been found. If you want to uncover the unsolved mysteries and chilling crime story, subscribe to my channel and never miss a shocking case.